Okay, so we're going to bring forward the Lancaster Park paper. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for this comprehensive report on the last of the deconstruction and the land remediation.
Yep.
And you've also heard the deputation from earlier.
Yes. So, thank you. I guess by means of brief introduction, we're essentially just seeking approval. Sorry, I'll just roll back. You recall through the last annual plan process, Council approved further use of the residual funds from the vertical demolition to carry on with this project. That was in July. We're here in front of you now to seek approval to effectively go to the market. We're going to the market with a kind of a semi-design construct approach. The site itself is relatively complex in terms of what's left on the site and the final outcome, which from this project will be a green usable park. And the sooner we get to the market and engage on essentially large-scale earthworks design solutions, the sooner we'll be able to then have an outcome and be able to start the engagement process for the detailed design of the spatial plan. So probably David's here to help support any questions you may have, but yeah.
That's great, thank you. Do we have any questions from people? Yanni.
Thanks. I just think it'd be good to clarify, based on the deputation we heard around the spatial plan. You know, is there a new spatial plan that's incorporated what the further things that have been discovered after the original one was signed off, and how is that going to be communicated back to the community?
We were using the spatial plan as an indicator of the things that the community found important, what they wanted their community to be provided with. At this stage, due to the complications that we've inherited on site, we still anticipate being able to incorporate all of those spatial plans in some sort of method, but maybe just not where and within the time frame that was first established.
So there's no change to the spatial plan elements that foreseeable, but when we have the final land design outcome, that process of where do we implement and put all of those initiatives that the community would like to see can commence, and that can commence when we are at a point of appointing a contractor, and we know exactly the outcome that we're going to get.
I think
so. There's no intent to change the spatial plan. We're still focused on the existing approved plan.
Yeah.
We just need to get the land in a state that it can receive.
Yeah, I get all that, but we've just had a deputation from the community. They did the walkabout. They got presented with 4 different kind of options. They're kind of wanting to know what's the option. All I'm trying to understand is when will we have the kind of option of the big spatial plan based on the tender to say to the community, given everything we know and all the complexities, here's what we've kind of decided on.
When we get the tender result.
Right. So that'll be based
after
on...
if you allow us to go to the market, we'll bring it back to you.
Right.
In terms of when, it's relatively complex. We're hopeful that it'll happen before Christmas, because we'd like to see works start, if not before Christmas, certainly immediately after Christmas.
Right, so the community then gets a say in terms of the detailed design of what's left after that contract's been let, because you'll know what the kind of spatial elements will be in terms of what's going where.
Correct. Correct. Once we've appointed that contractor, we can commence re-engagement immediately.
Right.
When we know what we're actually physically going to be dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we've got an additional resolution to seek support from central government. And, you know, I would hope that we're also, it probably doesn't need a resolution, but, you know, Rata, Christchurch Foundation, I mean, it seems to me that there'd be other avenues for potentially considering external funding to support this project. And I'd hope that we'd be taking those approaches. But I just wonder if there was a way in which we could have a really clear time frame for the community over when the next level of engagement and detailed design will be complete. And maybe that's something we need to raise to the community board around that. But there was a really good memo that we did get previously, and it would be good just to kind of update that and kind of send that out if we could.
Okay, and we've also got a note there for the community's desire for the co-design of both the process and the plan. Yeah. Yes.
Directly with the community to co-design the process for the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they asked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Mike, and then Andrew.
So I just have a question around number 4, support for the Shovel Ready Fund. I would have thought the Shovel Ready Fund is actually closed, so
Should we just call it
So
government funding?
there is a sports fund, in inverted commas,
Yeah, that's
and
not-
Nigel Cox informs me that there's still a substantial amount of money that hasn't been allocated yet.
yeah.
So that's what we're going to explore.
But is that considered the shovel? It's just
Well,
the term shovel ready. I
Should we
just
call it from
Crown. Just
Crown.
go to Crown.
a crap root
Yeah.
found funding?
Crown funding.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be good.
Okay, we're just, yeah. We're getting Aidan to do 2 different adjustments now, so. Okay, and with number
Was to support.
to approach the Crown for and then take out the extra fund. Okay, can people just run their eyes over those? Okay, are there any further questions of either Andrew or David up there? Yanni?
Oh, the other thing I was going to check on is we've got the FIFA Women's the FIFA's Women's World Cup in 2023. Has there been any consideration given to what sports grounds would be utilised and whether this would be a ground that we could approach FIFA for support?
Yes, they have, and they've been included in council's bid. Sorry, was the second part of your question about this, or utilisation of this part?
Yeah, like
The
this would
construction standard doesn't meet the international standards that they require, and it won't have the facilities available. They need to be available to be seen now. So council's well resourced in supporting that, and they've already been included.
Can we get a memo around what facilities are being proposed to be used and what FIFA's contribution will be?
Here we update on the bid, yeah.
That would be quite helpful.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Andrew?
Mine was exactly the issue that Mike raised.
Okay, great. Anything further from anyone else? Jimmy?
I'm not sure this Lancaster part, for the community, the use again, whether it has been put on the part of the council, the community facility, the network plan or not yet. It's part of council, the overall community facility network plan or not, just separate.
Parks.
Do you want to talk? So the network plan, Kelly and our team's leading the network plan process. It's currently in its final stages of consultation with the sporting community, and it should be coming to council shortly. That covers the whole, the overall view. Yeah.
Yes.
So, it's in production and it's not far away.
Thank you.
Anything further from anyone? No, so we have 5 recommendations up there. Resolutions. Anyone to move? Yanni? Anyone for second? Anne? Any debate? Yanni?
Thank you. I just want to start off by acknowledging the Phillipstown and Charleston communities. And I think the Mayor raised an interesting question of the deputation. And in some ways, it's I guess as a councillor or an elected rep for that area for the past at least 15 years, I'm well aware of some of the historical relationships. And I would just commend Charleston and Phillipstown communities for having one of the most constructive, positive relationships out of anywhere, probably, well, definitely in New Zealand, possibly anywhere in the world with a major stadium right next door. They were always positive and constructive, and just to also acknowledge V-Base, who actually did change, and there was a bit of a period where things weren't great, but actually it was in a really good space before the earthquake, which was why it was so devastating when the stadium was lost, and obviously there's been decisions to move the stadium out of the area. So this is a community that has been very patient and has been doing as much as they can, but they lost their school, they lost their stadium. 2 of the most iconic parts of this community have been moved on and moved away. And so I think it's really important that we commit as a council, and we do work with central government around an obligation to actually reinvest in this area. It's an area that I think certainly needs the reinvestment. It is one of the areas that has had huge density of housing and intensification of housing, and at the cost of trees and green space in private households, but also does create a need for, I think, some public green space and amenity. And finally, I'd just say that, if you went to the Phillipstown Hub and saw the amazing work that they're doing with all people from a very diverse background, but actually the children, when they co-designed and created the Imaginarium with the children, it was the most stunning process of saying to a community and to children in a community who often don't have a voice, you are important, you can make a difference, and you can have hope for living in a better environment. And these kids were absolutely extraordinary, and the people that worked with them were also extraordinary. And I think what a wonderful opportunity where council in the past has, in terms of the Charleston Neighbourhood Improvement Plan, being recognised for having a really great community engagement and positive relationship with a local area of co-design. Let's do it again with Lancaster Park. It's a wonderful opportunity, and let's embrace it. Things haven't happened as quickly as I personally would have liked, but let's not go back. Let's look forward, and let's really make sure that this can happen. I think COVID-19 gives us an opportunity to look at government funding. They have set up funding for areas of social deprivation and inequity around sports and recreation. They've also put a huge investment into a number of shovel-ready projects, and I think this one actually meets the category perfectly. So I'd ask you to support this today. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but this is another step on that really important journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Yanni. Anyone else? No, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Viviana. Thank you.